Now with AI, I think we're getting to this world of you, where you can put yourself in the video, like what we see with Sora 2, where now you can be like, hey, you know what? I'm in all the videos I want to be, to custom stuff created just for you.
Today on The Media Machine, we're joined by someone whose career has followed and often anticipated every major shift in modern media. Jim Louderback is one of the rare leaders who have not only watched the industry evolve, but helped build each new chapter. He began in tech journalism at PC Magazine, rose to editor-in-chief and senior vice president, then moved into television as a senior executive at Tech TV. When digital video emerged, he became the CEO of Revision 3, one of the earliest and most influential online video networks, and led it through acquisition by Discovery. From there, Jim steps into one of the most defining roles of his career as CEO of BigCom, acquired by Viacom, aka Paramount, where he transformed it from a YouTube fan gathering into a global multi-city creator event that shaped how brands, platforms, and creators connect in real life. Today, he's the editor and voice behind Inside the Creator Economy, the newsletter that has become essential reading for anyone looking to understand where creators, platforms, and media are headed, especially as AI reshapes how content is made, distributed, and monetized. Across print, cable, digital video, live events, and now generative AI, Jim has consistently bet his career on the future, and those bets have shaped the ecosystem as we operate in today. Wow, Jim, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to The Media Machine.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks. It's funny listening to you say all that, because I'm like, oh yeah, we are like in the AI transition. That's the next thing. So anyway.
Jumping straight into the questions, obviously I just read your very impressive resume, and you've lived through every major media shift in print, cable, online video, YouTube native production, which is a big part of your career, global events, and now AI. So when you zoom out, what's the through line that connects all those chapters for you?
I think for me, the through line really is, how can you become a creator and make content and not have to have the gatekeepers give it to you? So I was a computer programmer early on. We didn't touch that, but I was really lucky. I ended up being given my first job in media, running the labs at this magazine called PC Week, which was sister to PC Magazine. And like a year later, I had a column in a computer magazine. They gave it to me. I was so excited. And then a year after that, the internet came out, and I was like, oh yeah, and you know what? Anybody can now have a blog about technology. And again, early in my career, I could have gone in one of two directions. It could have been like, oh, we got to stop all that. I got mine. Nobody gets anything else. Or it could have been like, this is great. Now anybody who's got talent anywhere can do it. So for me, the thread as I've gone through all of that is as more and more ways for anybody to wake up anywhere in the world, no friends, no followers, no fans, no subscribers, and start a channel and go direct to an audience and build a life, build a career, or just a hobby. All the way through, each of the things that I've done ladders back to that. And how do you allow people who are talented in making media to reach an audience and create media in ways that the gatekeepers wouldn't let them or didn't know they wanted to let them, and they could just do it?
You pretty much are the creator of the foundation, the infrastructure that is what we see today as a creator industry, the creator economy. What are you seeing today? Do you see any resemblances?
Yeah, look, if I think about the major changes in what we saw at Tech TV, it was my first time working in television. Not really, but my first time really working in television. And then suddenly the TriCaster came out, and anybody could do a multi-channel production or a multi-shot live switch production in their home office with going from 20 people to 3 people or 2 people. With the internet, you could do it with cameras, and then suddenly, as it got better and better, your phone, this is like now an amazing video device. So you get it out there, and distribution was open to anybody. So the technologies with the internet and cameras and cheaper, and it totally disrupted distribution. Now with AI, we're disrupting creation. So all the stuff I've done, I'm not a very good video editor, and I'm not very good as an artist, but AI has let me do things. Like I use Descript now to make my videos, and I put it in there, and it lets me edit it like a word processor. And I use now Gemini to make images. So all of those things have given me the power to create. And so we're now disrupting the act of creation with AI, whereas think about YouTube and the internet disrupted the act of distribution of content. All those things make it easier and easier for anybody anywhere to say something, to be heard and reach an audience, which I think is so cool.
It is so cool because there's room for everybody too, right? That's the best part.
Totally. Think about this podcast that we're on right now, right? The three of us, we're in different parts of the world. We're coming in and we're actually talking and it looks good and it sounds good and we can have a conversation and people can watch it. Like the fact that we can do that is amazing. And I don't know what you guys use to edit, but I assume that there's some AI little things in there somewhere that help you out. That makes
throughout the whole process.
Better, right?
Yes, of course. You guys know it usually requires an entire team behind it. Now it's the three of us doing it on our own. Yeah, but just based on the fact that you've done so many different things and you've reinvented yourself across all different areas of the industry, what gives you the inspiration, or when did you know it was time to jump to the next thing?
I'm a geek. Like I started out in technology. I was a programmer, developer. Early PCs I started using back in the days when mainframe computers ruled the world. I was like using PCs. And so I get bored of things easily. So like I realized I can last at a company doing a single job for 4 or 5 years and I get bored. And I'm always looking at what's new because it's always fun. It's more fun and exciting for me to explore and play and analyze and have fun with the new stuff versus the old stuff. So I'm just like, it's that constant need to find out what's new on the cutting edge of technology. And then if there's stuff being built, it's the opportunity to say, that's a lot more interesting than just sitting here making the trains run on time for David Zaslav or whatever.
And in terms of content, you say, like we talk about, we can create anything from wherever because we are in 3 different cities right now. It's funny to me as a creative person that's come from linear originally that the creator economy, people can make such a huge impact in the industry by being a creator. But the reality is they're doing so much of it on their own or all of it on their own. So what's your opinion? And can you talk a little bit about how like big of an impact someone can make in its 3 people editing or producing for all of this material?
We've definitely gone from the phase of requiring a village to create a video show, right? Or a movie, to with the tools of the distribution, with all of that to be able to do it in a smaller and smaller group. I just think that technology has really helped us. Again, remember shooting even 10 or 15 years ago, you had to stress over your aperture and your lighting and all that other stuff. And now, you know, what's in these phones, it really makes it not foolproof, but so much easier to do. And audio too. I'm used to stress over audio and the reverb and did I have the right like audio traps in my home studio or home office? And now it's like I can record and if there are glitches, I can fix them. I can apply AI will fix the audio, even if it just ends up recording on the dumb mic that's in this thing. And so we now have ways to like, I don't need a sound person. I probably should have an editor. So all of those things make it easier. But here's the thing that I think is important to understand is nobody can be great at everything. And yes, it's great to be a single person doing stuff, which I am, but there are things that I'm outsourcing. And then if I wanted to do that over there, I'm going to outsource it. And so I think that's important to understand.
Yeah, that's a great point.
You write a lot, and I feel like you're constantly educating us, and you write all these amazing trends reports with like a major shift that's happening right now that most people are missing. And talk about what you're writing in your reports. And if somebody hasn't seen your reports, it's because they're living under a rock, but refer to some of your reports, like the mega trends one.
Yeah. Okay. So I write a weekly newsletter that goes out on LinkedIn and Beehive. I've been doing it for 5 years here, but even back in the PC Magazine days, I started a newsletter called What's New Now that basically is what's going on each week. It's still alive. So basically that's what I do. And we referred like megatrends and stuff like that. I write a lot of times just to work it out in my own brain. A couple things that I've seen and written about recently. One is, and if you just look at YouTube and TikTok and where we're going now, YouTube was really about who you like. It was who. And so YouTube early on knew the creators you liked and you subscribed to them and it would feed you creators that you liked when you went on and more like that. Now TikTok came out and it was like, what? They almost didn't really care and they still don't, although they do, about creators. They built a content graph. They knew what you liked. You like beekeeping, you like books, you like making videos, you like hiking, you like whatever it is. And they started feeding you more things about the topics you like. So we kind of went from who to what. And now with AI, I think we're getting to this world of you, where you can put yourself in the video, like what we see with Sora 2, where now you can be like, hey, you know what? I'm in all the videos I want to be, to custom stuff created just for you, whether it's an advertisement or a movie or whatever. And so I think that trend going to and focusing on the you side of media is going to be really interesting over the next 5 or 10 years. That's one thing that I think is really fascinating. I'm not sure people are focusing on as much as they should.
In the podcast, we have 4 key pillars: process, profits, people, planet. And We usually start with the process. We're jumping into the profits now because we really want to hear from you. Where's the money going? Especially you're an entrepreneur. You have an entrepreneurial mindset. You've been launching companies, selling companies in a way that most executives, media executives don't even know where to begin. How do they even do that? They know how to create. They just don't know the business side of things. So what are investors looking at right now? What's selling? What's building? For example, I'm a tech founder. I just came from an accelerator. And I'm seeing all these new media tech companies coming out. Everything is AI, obviously. Where's the money going? Where are investors investing?
You're spot on with the AI side, but investors and VCs, and I was one for a little while. I worked with a seed fund with some of my first bosses in media. And VCs they're like lemmings, right? They chase the next biggest thing. Even when I was running the early YouTube network, our VCs would be like, oh, this company over here is doing this really cool thing. You should turn the company into that. And I'm like, that's not really who we are. AI is definitely taking up a lot of the investment money in the room, which is great. But I fundamentally believe AI will become an underpinning of so many things we do and not the primary thing. Think about electricity. I'm sure when electricity first came out, there are all these VCs who are like, we have to invest in electricity. No, electricity is everywhere. We don't think about it. Motors. We don't think about motors. They're just everywhere. The things in the world that I think about is media, the creator economy, and where that's going. Certainly AI is changing that. We talked about the moving to the creation side of it. But I think what's interesting is when you look at generational shifts, when you look at the Gen Alpha, because we are moving from the Gen Z to Gen A world, Gen Alpha is much more that cohort, and even younger Gen Z are less interested about broad social and likes and like, I've got to be the biggest one possible. And so I've got to put money into the biggest one possible, and more focused on niches that are important to them and private communities or gated communities where they can be themselves. And so a lot of what I see developing in media is around these smaller fandoms, small, mighty, and valuable, and also focusing on private communities. So away from broad social where you're putting yourself out there for everything, and more around trying to be smaller trusted groups where you can be yourself. And so smart money, I think, is looking at that, whether it's a big media company or a small media company. How do you go and build your own private communities? And how do you go and focus on narrow niches that are important? The survey that Microsoft did 6 months ago basically said 50% of Gen Z belong to a fandom that none of their friends know about. And in the early days of YouTube, when we were in the early days of VidCon, all the teens and the 20-somethings are all like Harry Potter and Marvel, and they're these big media franchises that they were fans of. Now, it's things like Dracula Daily or some weird thing happening on Book Talk that I don't even know what it is. That's a really interesting shift. And so that's where I think media is going, and that's where the smart money is going, because the other side of it is brands, the smart brands, are starting to realize that they need to be creators. So they need to build their own private communities, and they need to build their multi-episode things, and they need to have creators inside that their Gen Z and Gen A audiences can see as just like me, that I can relate to, and that I can build that affinity with that brand, just as I've been doing with creators over the last 20 years.
Evan Shapiro and Alan Wilk are constantly saying that the creators are the new network. Do you agree with that?
Both those folks are super, super insightful, and they're distilling down what's happening in a way that traditional media execs can understand, which is right, because that's who's paying for them. If we just think that it's like we have the networks of Discovery and CNN, and those are going to be replaced by Darman and by Chloe Abrams, I think there's a kernel of yes, but it's not going to be an exact one-for-one replacement. Every new technology, I think, like I've been talking about for ages about this when I explain it to people, it's the cow path. You guys know much about cows?
No.
Okay, so if you have a field and you have a bunch of cows, and then you have the place where they eat, the feed, if you put food in there, the cows will beat a path, just linear path. They're going to go from here and they're going to go eat their food. If you move where they have the food over at a 90-degree angle and you feed them, they're going to walk down to where it used to be, and then they're going to turn 90 degrees and walk over to where the food is, which is basically what everyone does. So like every new thing, it's got to be just like the old thing. Whereas what you really want to do is walk on the diagonal if you're a cow, because you'll waste less energy if you cross down the diagonal and don't go down the two corners. Anyway, that was a really weird way to explain how, yes, Darm and Sean Atkins, who I used to work for at Discovery, are building something really cool, but it's not going to replace TLC or Discovery. It is a new thing that is going to build in its own way. I don't think we're ever going to see a conglomeration of creators worth whatever the 83 billion or whatever that Netflix just bought Warner Brothers for. But I do think we're going to see a lot of these creator first orgs pop up that do and build different business models in different ways and develop real value. So yes, they're the new networks, but they're not just one-for-one replacements for.
I love that. It makes us feel good. Makes us feel good because that's what we're doing here. We feel like we're building it, our network. Jill?
Exactly. And explaining all of this to people who are just also diving into. So I'm curious, in your opinion, how do you talk about creators and what they're building versus the networks? How do creators actually get their return of investment? And what's your advice so that they can?
I think as a creator, you need to think about what you want to do. Do you just want to create and make art? And is it a hobby or is it something that's just going to sustain you? Or do you want to build a business? Because there's a spectrum, right? Some creators just want to be artists. Some look at it as being entrepreneurs and they want to build businesses. And you know what? It can change over time too, by the way. It doesn't have to be like, this is it. I'm always going to be this way. And then think about, do you want to create and have yourself be at the center of it? Or if you're building a business and want to think about being an entrepreneur, how do you build something that's sustainable without you in front of the camera? And so there are a lot of things you can do there to think about. Like, Johanna, what you're doing, bringing Julie in, it's not just you doing the podcast anymore. Now you have two people. And over time, there'll be other power, and maybe other podcasts that you bring in under your umbrella. And that means a couple years, 5 years or whatever down the road, where you're like, I need to step away. I can't spend all my time doing this anymore. You still have a business that works without you, and you can even sell that business. So successful YouTubers who've been able to do that weren't just about themselves. They were able to create other products around themselves and bring other people in. I think of that Matt Pat did with the Theorist Media, where at first it was just about Matt Pat, and then he and Stephanie built some consulting around it, and then they brought other people in to do other things, able to sell it and step away and still have it be a huge thing for the people that they sold it to. Think about, how do you build a business that sustains past you being part of it? And also, how do you focus on, as we talked about before, how do you focus on your fans, your super fans, the ones who are going to give you an inordinate amount of their money, have a higher LTV than just some rando watching and being like, I was cool, now I'm going to go watch something else. Focusing on your super fans, focusing on building those communities of value for those super fans and products that they want and things like that. And then also focusing on building a business that survives you not being there so that you can sell it, are all things that, if you're at the entrepreneurial side of the spectrum, you should be thinking about.
Love that. Who do you think gains and who are the biggest winners and losers in this in the next few years? Like creators, agencies, platforms, legacy media?
Legacy media, unless they figure out how to adapt in this world, are the losers. And you see this with traditional TV, the multi-channel bundle going down. You see it with streaming. It's like, how many streaming platforms can you have? Is it going to be a winner takes all thing, which Netflix certainly seems to think it is? What does that look like for you? And for traditional media, are you leaning into people going direct to their audience? Look at news right now. Some of the stuff happening with news, where the younger you are, the less likely you're paying attention to news anyway, according to Pew. Wherever you are on that, mostly you're looking not for the journalist that is trusted and went to a big journalism school and is backed by a big network. They're looking for journalists who are just like them, that they can relate to, that they trust, that they can talk about this. That's playing out. And I think for traditional media, if you're not looking at people just like you, if you're not looking for the people that your audience trusts, if you're not building that kind of trust and not just resting on the laurels of your brand or your cachet or your education, you're going to lose. So that's one. Two, I think agencies are going to have a hard time unless they embrace this, because more and more companies and brands are starting to realize they need to build their own connection with audiences. They need to own their own communities. They need to bring creators in or find them that are working for them and develop them up so that they have a direct relationship with their audience. Agencies sit between audience and media and brands. Brands need to go direct. So if agencies don't get that, it's going to be tough for them. And then you see this with the big holding companies acquiring more and pulling it together. And I get a sense it's like dinosaurs mating out there. So the winners, I think the creators that realize that who they are and that they have to go direct, they have to engage with their audiences. And if they want to build, they've got to build and think about how I do it so I'm not just the key man. Those are the ones who are going to win. And then the platforms are interesting, right? We're moving in social from everybody's on Facebook and everybody's on Instagram to wanting to be part of these more private networks, spending less time on big, broad social. And so the platforms that adapt to that, I think, are the ones that are also going to win. And the ones that are just like, we'll just shove AI slop out there and everybody's going to love it. I think they're going to have a hard time.
And you bring up a good point about trust. because AI is moving so quickly and you don't know what to trust. Is a certain person, is that a real animal? Or just the human element of it just feels so lost.
100%. It's going to be really important that creators are clear about what's AI and what's not, and what they use and what they don't. Recently, some AI study came out. Basically, 60 or 70% of consumers are worried about and don't trust AI, whereas only like 10 or 20% of creators who are using it are in that boat. And I think that's going to be really important to keep your audience and have your audience trust you. But with that said, you know what? People call AI slop, and it's like slop, blah, blah, blah. It's bad. You know what? It reminds me of the early days of YouTube when it was like UGC, and it's like somebody in there doing like a little haul at home with their camera going, "Hi, everybody, here's what I got." The traditional media execs, no one's going to watch that. It's crap. That's not high quality. That's all. And now that's what it is.
Yeah.
So,
Hello, Mr. Beast.
I know.
yeah, exactly. Look, Mr. Beast is a great example. By the way, of key man risk that he's trying to manage right now. He is the one in front of the camera. And his CEO came in. They're trying to sell industry and raise money for it. It's all about building businesses that survive beyond Mr. Beast. I'm actually writing about this for my newsletter for Monday, so I've been thinking about it. Anyway.
Give us a little insight.
You know what? He brought a CEO to run Beast Industries, and they've been doing a lot of different things, launching businesses. They want to do a phone. They want to do financial services. They did a little pop-up amusement park in Saudi Arabia. So there's all sorts of things that they're doing there. And they appear to be out raising money because they just both spoke at DealBook this week, which is kind of the hook of what I talked about. Last week, Jimmy Donaldson got on X and said, you know what? My videos weren't as good this year, and I'm going to refocus myself on my videos, and was very honest and upfront. Now seeing in the context of the DealBook thing, it's obvious that they're crafting their narrative to go out to try and raise more money, which is fine, which is great. He should. But that's just an example of a kind of person who's going to win because Mr. Beast and's got great people around him. He's done good hiring. He's building a lot of really interesting adjacent businesses that exist without him, like Viro's clipping service, for example. But those are the kind of creators I think will win.
On that thread, because you mentioned how Mr. Beast is having a hard time because now he has to remove himself from being the center stage. Darman's been doing that, and we know Sean Atkins came in to do that. And that was the first thing he did was like, okay, Darman, you can't be the center of attention. So do you think Darman's doing it right? And he's ahead of Mr. Beast?
I think Dar's doing it right. I think Mr. Beast, look, the thing is, there's no right and wrong, right? There are different paths to this. The thing about the Darman business, which is interesting, is it's scripted. And so the building a scripted business today, it has been this way on YouTube since the beginning, but more and more scripted businesses are getting funded, and we're seeing new formats and ways to make money like micro dramas and things like that can distribute this way. But it's still harder to get a sponsor to sponsor a scripted where there is no creator at the center versus something where the creator's front and center and people do it and they have parasocial relationships, etc. But they're crafting a good path with Darman where they're doing that. Alan Chicken Chow's another one doing it where they're doing a lot of scripted, but brands are coming in and he's building a studio. And then you have people like Rhett and Link and Mythical who are also building a studio, but Rhett and Link are still there doing their show, but they're doing mythical food and mythical this and mythical that, and bringing other creators in and personalities to be in front of it. So that's just another path to build that and make it work. So there is no one path to it, just as we didn't all have one type of TV channel in the cable age. We had sports, we had news, we had a weather channel, all these other things that we did that made sense in that era of media. We're figuring out what makes sense to build media enterprises that will be sellable and that will grow and that will be really big businesses. A lot of experimentation, a lot of early signals of what's successful, but it's not all going to look like Darman. It's not all going to look like Mythical. It's not all going to look like Theorist Media. It's going to look a lot of different ways.
So what do you think things will look like in 5 years, in your opinion?
I want to look at the broad brush of online video, creator first video, and what people do. So right now, we'll take YouTube as a proxy, but you can say the same thing for TikTok or Instagram or something else. On YouTube, the first thing to think about when you think about what it's going to look like over the next 5 years is we've all run out of time. It used to be when a new media would launch, we're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to spend less time outside and more time with media because I love this. And I'm just going to keep doing reading the books and listening to the radio. And now I'm going to watch the TV or now I'm going to do this. We now spend all of our waking time. We're not sleeping, not eating, not going to work, not doing the other things that we can do. We're basically spending it all with media. So as a new media comes out, we have to do less of the other media. And so that's important when you think about what's happening over the next 5 years, because AI is enabling new classes of media to be created. Slop's a bad term. On YouTube, let's say the amount of time spent with creators on YouTube, and I don't know the exact numbers, so don't take these as real numbers. Let's say 70% of the time that people spend on YouTube is watching creators and creator-led media. As AI starts to flood more and more of YouTube and other platforms, well, we're going to spend more time watching AI, which means we'll spend less time watching creators and the other things we watch on there. 20% of the time that we spend now today watching our favorite creators, we're now watching AI-generated video. And even if it's slop, if it's fun and interesting, watch it. It's cool. It's little hits of dopamine, but longer stuff as well. So what that means is that 20% of creator time now getting paid for people watching their video is going to go away. Some creators are going to go away because AI is taking their audience. Other creators will lean in and say, hey, my creator video is great, but what if I figure out a way to reach my audience with things that's AI generated that they like? So I take over that portion of that viewership. So I think over the next 5 years, we're going to see some creators get disrupted. Mm-hmm. We're going to see some creators lean in and embrace AI and do things that appeal to the AI time that we spend from our media diet consuming AI generated content. And we will see new content creators, providers, whatevers that create 100% AI that rise up and go out there. The landscape will shift. The disruption of traditional creators is happening. And we'll see 5 years from now, I'll be like, wow, look at those amazing networks that are all AI that have done great stuff. Wow, those creators did such a good job, like continue to create, but engaging their audience with AI too. And gosh, I miss those creators over there. I wonder whatever happened to them.
Do you really think that's going to happen? I went on that Meta social media platform. Is it a separate one? I don't even know, but I was in there and all I saw were AI generated social media feeds. And I watched for a little bit, but then I was like, it's not the same.
I agree.
One of the traps we all fall into and I'm not saying that you guys do this, but this is what I saw when I was at Discovery and at Paramount is we all think either everybody consumes media like we do, or everybody consumes media like our kids do. And it's a wide variety.
It's going to open up like a whole audience or a new space.
Look at it this way. I don't know how much time you guys spend with TikTok. I spend a little time with TikTok, but it's not a big part of my media diet. I won't admit that to a lot of people, but I go up there and I post there and I spend some time there. But there are some people where that short form is a huge part of their media diet, right? And so if you go up on TikTok now and start looking at it, and a friend of mine actually went and created a brand new TikTok channel and started looking at things, ended up finding that AI generated video started taking up 80 or 90% of his feed, his For You page. So when you're looking at TikTok, you're like, I've got 10 minutes. I'm waiting for the bus, waiting for my friend to get here. Let's just see TikTok. Hi. Oh, that's so good. And of that TikTok diet, I believe that 50, 60, whatever percent will be AI generated. And that's okay. Shorts, TikTok. But that means that some of the creators who are on TikTok who are doing that kind of stuff are going to see a lot less. Some of them will fade away. Look, think about the different types of video we have. And I'm going to go in threes. Like you've got entertainment videos. So entertainment, I could probably be entertained long form by AI, maybe 3 or 4 minutes from 1 to 2 minutes. You've got learning, help, how-to, educational videos. If I want to learn how to fix my dishwasher, I think AI could help me. And it might even help me better because rather than just having a video is more generic about dishwashers, I can take a picture of my dishwasher and say, show me how to replace the belt. I don't even know if dishwashers have belts. I don't think they do. And then think about inspiration. We want to be inspired by somebody. I'm not sure we're going to be as inspired by AI. That feels more human. There are other things that feel like humans are going to do well, but I believe that there are classes of content that AI will do as well or better in some ways for some people.
It's so interesting. I have a 17-year-old and I learned so much from him, but I see what you're saying because I feel like, oh, he's doing this, then everybody his age in the whole world is doing that exactly as well. Are you concerned at all with the ethics of what young people are consuming, knowing so much as AI? Are they losing touch with reality because they're just consuming so much?
I don't know. Look, there's a through line on this. And during COVID, when everyone was locked down, none of these kids saw anyone in person and it was all through the screen. And so for younger Gen Z, like my son's an older Gen Z and Gen A, the line is blurred between offline and online in really interesting, weird ways. I don't think we've seen the full effects of that. I think we will. And I think AI is similar, but you could have said that about video games. You could have said it about TV when TV first came out. Oh my God, those kids are watching TV for 4 or 5 hours. It's going to rot their freaking brains.
And then here we are. We are those.
I was going to say, maybe it did, but here we are. I think the filters will be developed and kids are growing up with those filters to figure out what is and what isn't. But the other interesting thing, look, I'm going to draw another parallel. For me, I was the TV generation, right? And then there's the internet generation. The internet was always there for them. And then there was like the tablet phone generation. And this is like always there for them. And like the apocryphal thing of the baby that gets up and starts hitting the TV. And it was like, why can't it change? Traditional TV. Now, the 2, 3, 4, 5-year-olds are growing up with AI. What's the AI generation going to be like? I'm really, Julie, just rehashing your question in a way that I don't know, but it's going to look scary to those of us who aren't.
You think about teen girls and Instagram and all that stuff, and then you're seeing all these unrelatable pictures anyway, and they're developing their minds and their sense of self and their confidence, and it's just so complex.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to take yourself, like with Sora, and say, okay, now make me sexy like little Michaela, and suddenly it's, okay, maybe that's me.
But then you used to meet people in real life, and you don't look like that anymore.
Right. Maybe everybody has that filter, and maybe we all have glasses that are all AR glasses, so when we go out, we have our preferred way we want people to actually see us.
And does it create more image disorders?
Does it help you be like, doesn't matter what I look like, because if I want to look like that, I can. But if I don't, be real, be me, love me for who I am. Yeah. I know I'm an optimist.
It's interesting when you say that, and when you go back to the privacy element of the younger generation, they're having their private groups that they don't want just a huge audience. They want a select, curated group of people that they know or they identify with. I think there's going to be an element of privacy that kids are going to want in reaction and rebellion to what we're doing now.
I agree with you 100%. I think we're seeing that. We're seeing that in these groups. And if I can take it one step further, we're talking about time spent with AI versus with creators. But think of it from a brand level. The more time you spend in these private groups with the people that you trust, maybe enjoying media that you create for each other, the less time you're spending with media that brands can support and shove down your throat. And brands aren't welcome in those communities. There are things that you will do, but I think that's going to be scary as well.
They're going to figure out a way to get in. Yeah, they are. But kids are my kids and their friends don't necessarily want their parents to be following them on Instagram anymore. Like they want privacy.
That's what happened with Facebook. They were like, "Oh, we got to leave. My grandmother's here."
Exactly.
Well, but here's the thing that brands can do. I'll paint a way to do it because there are brands that kids trust. They're brands that we trust. Look, and this is going to be the old person talking about the community that they would run. I'd welcome Patagonia into my community anytime. Yeah. Come on in, Patagonia. Or come on in, Eves or whatever his name is, the guy who started it. But those brands that are relevant to kids and they're building it, they're going to welcome those brands in if they do it in a way that is true to the ethos of the community, not just coming in and being like, buy my product, great,
right?
Later. So that's going to change branding too, which is the reason why I think agencies will have some trouble.
One thing I don't think a lot of people are talking about are like the new layers of creators. You've been in this space, Jim, for a long time. Why are Julie and I here? Why do we have a podcast? We're going to start seeing more and more executives and senior people creating their own communities and networks. Now, what do you think separates a creator who is becoming a media company and a creator that's continuing to have a single channel brand and these new layers of creators that are coming into the market?
Couple different things there. I'll take the first one and then we can talk the second one, which I think kind of lies into the B2B creator as well, which we can talk about a little bit if you want. But the creator who wants to just be themselves and do their own thing and create and just build that, I think that's fun. That becomes more of is it a hobby? Is it an avocation? Is it a part-time job? Is it something you do when you're not doing other things? And if you want to make a life and a career out of it and build a business, then you need to start thinking about how do I do some of the things we're talking about up front. Look, everybody today is a creator. Everybody has a little creation media machine in their pockets. And everybody also has a media amplification device in their pocket. That's what I used to say about VidCom when I was telling them, I was like, we have 10,000 kids here and each one of them is an amplification device. You better be careful or you better take advantage of it. We will see people create for themselves. We'll see them create for the groups, the small groups, for their friend groups, because it's easier and easier to do that. You see this playing out on Sora 2 now, and we will in other areas. And we'll see people create to reach bigger audiences because they can or to build businesses.
Yeah. And what about the professional creators?
That to me is a huge area of growth. When I was CEO of Revision 3, I used to write columns and talk about stuff, and we were changing the world. We were changing media. And then I remember getting Discovery, and I'd write a column, and I'd be like, this is really cool. This is really what's happening. And then I'd give it to the corporate PR people. They're like, you can't say that. You're an executive at Discovery. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I can't say that. I can't go out there. And now we see CEOs, they're very filtered. but more of them are becoming their own personalities on these platforms. And to me is a really important thing. To talk about startups, if I were investing in startups today, I would not invest in a startup where the CEO or the co-founder didn't have a decent following on LinkedIn or somewhere else. Because you can build a company with a following on these social platforms in far less expensive ways than if you had to buy advertising. And you guys remember, like the thing is, oh yeah, you're building a company. What's your elevator pitch? Now it should be, oh, you're building a company. What's your meme?
Yep. Yeah. Julie and I have these conversations all the time because we have these other parts of our life that how much of this do we make public? Where in the past, we never, ever, like Julie would never have done yoga videos. And if you haven't checked her out, they're amazing. She could do some downward dogs. She pushes me to work out with her online content. It's amazing. And then she's creating products. It's so cool. But in the past, as network executives, we never would have ever shown this part of our life. Yeah. So publicly. It's
100%. And I'm like the same way. I'm a big Nintendo fan, right? And so I never would have been like really public about how I like Nintendo, I like Pokemon, I like Mario and Bowser. But now the biggest video that I've done on YouTube is where I was comparing TikTok to Bowser. And it was like, that was huge. I'm like, okay, I guess there's something like being a little bit more human, right?
Yeah. I literally just posted a video on my LinkedIn that I never would have done before about me. So I'm a startup founder as well, tech founder. And I was doing my makeup and talking about investment and investors. And I was like, oh my God, I've done that before, but I love that.
Yeah, it humanizes you. Like,
exactly.
I should probably do a get ready with me video on LinkedIn.
The three of us should do it and then put it together and then see how Jim, Julie, and Johanna get ready. And we all get ready.
Exactly.
The interesting thing to me is we have all been behind the camera mostly, right? Until now. And so this is a big transition for me to get on camera, but I'm actually loving it.
Yes.
But with all the people that are now doing their own content, is there still room for the next Beyonce to come up and be what Beyonce has become? Or is it going to be too saturated?
There's always room where people are going to rise up to the top. You have Mr. Beast rising up to the top. You have other people will do that. It's an interesting question, but I think there's a broader question that, yes, we will be able to get global superstardom at some level. There's always going to be a Beyonce or whatever. But is there going to be enough space for people to rise up so that they can live a comfortable life, so that they can become middle class in certain parts of the world or upper middle class? Or, you know what, I'm going to make enough money in this as a creator, going direct, building media companies so I can retire early and do other things. So that I think is the interesting question. And I think yes, but then I'm an optimist as well. But I also fundamentally believe that's our job when we think about the creator economy and building creators and building this world is, can we create more opportunity for more people to use these tools to connect with other people, to make a difference, to make a life, and hopefully to feel like they're enriching not only themselves, but everybody else through it, and not have to go out and get some boring, soulless corporate job that's going to suck their soul out of their ears.
Exactly. I choose this one.
Apparently we all do, but I think that more and more that's going to be possible, but it's also arrangement. It's like you can go be a barista at Starbucks if you want to, and also make video about it and build a really big connections. Even like Starbucks now is saying, we're going to go out and find some of our top baristas and we're going to elevate them up and put them on our socials. Over time, those people may be able to, I like doing this. I'm able to maybe not quit my job, but maybe I can open my own coffee store. Maybe, I don't know if they're, but all those avenues are more and more available if you want to pursue them.
Yeah, it's been an interesting ride so far, I will say.
And it's just getting started. AI is just it'll just amplify it.
Johanna and I talk about this a lot. It's just maintaining that humanity and making sure that people are still talking to each other in real life and they're falling in love and they're creating relationships and all that without being behind a screen, ultimately.
Well, I think, and I agree with you, and this is why it was so interesting doing events and VidCon and leaning into the IRL side of it. To me, the IRL is going to be one of the only ways that we're going to be able to prove that we're human and not AI. And so what that means is to really connect, like if I'm a creator and I'm creating content and distributing it on platforms, I'm going to need to figure out a way to connect to people in real life.
Yeah.
Because that really will be the only way that we know each other as human. And I believe we're still going to find value in that, whether it's a big event or a small event or a way to do just a hangout with 30 of your fans every now and then that you live stream, whatever it is, to me, that's going to be super important.
Yeah, I agree. How do you keep up to date with everything?
And what do you do in your off time? Or is this your off time?
No, I like to read. I like to check out what's going on. I like to talk to people. All these things keep me up to date. Writing a weekly newsletter is really nice because I get to set aside time to find out what's going on, to find out what I think is important. And then I work out what I think about it when I write about it and publish it. A lot of times, if you read my newsletter, you'll see I'll have a hot take on something. And then the week after, I might be like, so that's really cool. And I also curate events. I'm in the middle of an event. I'm running a third of an event in Dubai in January called the Billion Followers Summit. I'm running the business side of it, but 120 speakers coming, and each one of them I've had a conversation with about, what are you passionate about? What do you think? What do you want to talk about? And all that informs me as well. But also, I love to travel, and I love hiking, and I love walking. And so to me, getting out and traveling in a new part of the world or a new place I've never been and trying to experience that is the same sort of searching for the new and the interesting and like changing my vision, opinion, the way I react to the world. So every time I go do an event or do something around the world for work, I try and build in a couple days before or after to go somewhere I've never been that's near there. And so all those things I think tie into, I guess that's a good way to answer the question. I just want to keep doing.
Yeah. You love what you do. You do what you love.
Yeah. And I go out, and then when I'm not doing it, I get out there and walk the dogs on the beach and look at stuff and try and experience new things in different ways that have nothing to do with video or computers or creators, but that keep my brain stimulated with new things.
Love that.
And it seems like you think a lot about the future. Has there been a time when maybe you took a risk that taught you something about leadership?
Yeah, there's been a bunch of things. At Revision 3, we started a thing where live shopping is going to be great. We're totally going to do this. Let's just pilot it out. I'll get in front of the camera and we'll play around with it. And it wasn't very good, but the essence, the technology wasn't there. This was 2010, 2011. It was Deals FTW. But what I learned was, sometimes good ideas are too early, but also there's a way to do it in a collaborative way where probably at that point as CEO, I should have been like, I'll just do it. I should have been like, okay, if I can't convince the people that I'm running the company with that it's a good idea, maybe we just shouldn't do it. So that's always a good thing to learn. It's like early, I was like first time CEO. I'm like, yeah, you can't do everything yourself. You really have to hire smart people and trust them. And I did the first part, but I had to learn how to do the second part.
Yeah, that's hard. It's hard to delegate.
It's hard.
Yeah, and trust, but then you do. And then you find
you're not going to scale if you don't.
So we have this whole creator economy, and then we have a whole group of people that are coming out of the traditional linear television side of things who are finding it really hard to make that leap. What is your advice to those people? Because not everybody wants to be on camera and do videos about themselves.
But that's okay, because as creators grow, there are enough other opportunities for people to come in and help. And some of those skills are really good. Look, I'll give you a couple of examples. Sean Atkins is a great example. Although Sean, he was the one who led the sale of Revision 3 to Discovery, I worked for. So he knew about all this stuff early. Ended up going to Style Hall. Went back and ran MTV and now is doing great stuff over there. But you look at Mark Rober. So Mark Rober's business just hired Scott Lewis a year ago. Scott was at Discovery when I was there. He was running the Discovery Channel for Nancy Daniels and doing other stuff there. And they hired him a year ago to basically run their content there. And so he's been learning about what it's like. He's new, but I know he's been learning a lot there. So I do think that there's a way for traditional media execs to use their skills to help creators grow. You just have to check your ego, check your politics, and check your sort of hierarchy at the door and embrace the fact that you're going to be learning as much as teaching when you get there.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. You have to check it all because it's a whole new world and you have to learn. We talk about YouTube University. We've talked about it a couple times in the past.
I have a couple of YouTube University certifications.
Yeah, exactly. And you can learn anything and then you can do anything. You just have to have that drive and will, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we just see this when I was investing in startups, but also running one myself. Is like you hire some people from traditional media and they just can't make the jump. They're like, where's my assistant? Where's my expense account? Where's my this and that? But also, wait, I have to actually do some work. Just understanding that it's not going to be the way it was, but it's probably going to be in some ways more rewarding. In other ways, it's going to push you and you'll probably end up in a great place on the other side. But don't try and find the position you have now in this new world. Take a look at the skills you have and figure out how you can apply those to help people who need those skills because they didn't grow up with that.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the hardest part for you was to make the transition from corporate to startup?
I think that the hardest part was basically like, oh, wait, I'm responsible for payroll. If we don't have money, everybody loses their job. Right. I got the fact that at Tech TV, we started this big Tech Live thing because Paul Allen, who bought it, wanted a CNBC thing about tech, was doing .com boom. hired a couple hundred people and then I had to lay most of them off. That was a little bit different than being like, wait, if I don't raise that money, we're not going to be able to have payroll. And all these people that came to work for me because I sold them the dream are all not going to have jobs.
That's a panic moment when you're an entrepreneur, right? All these people believe in you and you want to give them what you promised them, but then something falls through or a project goes away. Have you felt like that in the past? Have you had those moments?
Oh, yeah. Like with Revision 3 in 2008, we had to lay off a third of the staff. And that's when we shifted into being a video podcast network delivered that way to really all in on YouTube, which was the right thing to do. But some of the people that I had weren't going to make the transition.
See, that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. For founders, you either figure it out or you die.
I agreed 100%, but I never lose the pain of like, when I've laid people off, it's every time it's painful. Every time I'm like, I feel like I failed. And we're in a time of transition now.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great over there, but the middle is really ugly and it can be really messy. And so anybody who has to go through that on either side, it's not easy. Don't ever lose that empathy. And remember, it's never about you. It's always about the people that you're laying off. And it's always your failures that led to the fact that you had to let them go. Because we also see that too many CEOs make it about themselves.
Yeah.
You're in an incredible interview because you have such a human side to you, and yet you are so forward thinking. I think you need your own show. I've been thinking that the whole interview.
Okay, so here's the thing. I've done 2 podcasts and I've really enjoyed them, but I haven't found the right co-host yet because it was always somebody who we would always agree with everything. It's like for me, and I love, Johanna, that you brought on Julie because I think co-hosts are so important. But I also think that you have to have some tension there, but be able to talk about both sides of things because that's when I think it really works. So at some point, I will probably do it again. I just need to find the right person that I can actually have conversations and disagree with and explore. So
You're always welcome to come here and disagree with us. We want you to disagree with us. Give you our third vote.
Cool.
Where can our audiences find you?
Best place, go to LinkedIn and subscribe to my newsletter. It's Jim Louderback, and I'm JLOUDERB, 8 letters everywhere. So it's on TikTok and everything, but that's the best place. Or my blog, louderback.com. Yes, I still have a blog.
Thank you so much for this conversation. It's been so insightful and so lovely to meet you.
So fun. It's great to hang out and chat about this with you. I love this. Let me know again.
Yes. Oh,
Sure.
Jim, we're going to be annoying you.
We're going to be our co-host, remember? We already decided that.
Thanks for joining us on The Media Machine. If somebody sent you this, it's because they care about you and your future. The Media Machine is created by me, Johanna Salazar. I'm also the host and executive producer with Julie Kellman Redding, who is also the co-host and editor. See you next time.